Episode 83, the former Navy SEAL who shot and killed Osama bin Laden, Robert O'Neill. Welcome to The Art of Excellence, a show about people doing extraordinary things in their lives. I'm your host, Glenn Zweig. Thanks for joining me. My guest today is Robert O'Neill. Rob is a Navy SEAL combat veteran with decorations which include 2 Silver Stars, 4 Bronze Stars with Valor, a Joint Service Commendation Medal with Valor, 3 Presidential Unit citations, and 2 Navy Marine Corps Accommodations with Valor. He is a public speaker, TV personality, philanthropist, and co-founder of the Special Operators Transition Foundation, a charity supporting special operations military personnel making the difficult transition from the battlefield to the boardroom. He is a New York Times bestselling author of The Operator, and his latest book is titled The Way Forward: Master Life's Toughest Battles and Create Your Lasting Legacy. Well, Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Glenn. Appreciate it.
By the way, Rob, okay, or Robert?
Rob's fine.
Okay. I dare not abbreviate a former Navy SEAL.
Oh, no, that's good. That's good.
Or sir, or, just...
No, just Rob's good. That's what my mom calls me, so we're good.
Okay. We're doing this interview in the midst of all this insanity happening, of course, over in Ukraine. And I know you've been out of the military for some time, but I can't imagine you don't have an opinion on what's going on. Do you have any thoughts on what's happening? Or if you've got a call from the president, he's like, hey, help me out here, Rob, what should we do? I feel so hopeless where I'm sitting, but do you have a perspective?
We could be doing what we're doing right now, and that's supplying them with anti-air, anti-tank, and then anti-ship, because a lot of these cruise missiles are coming in from the sea. We need to sink a few of their naval assets to just let them know we mean business. But you got to figure you're dealing with someone in Vladimir Putin who's an obvious narcissist and psychopath, but he's also the rumors again. You never can trust anything you believe anywhere, but the rumors are he's terminally ill. And if you got someone like that, he's talking about Vladimir Lenin, Nikita Khrushchev, and Joseph Stalin, and that's legacy, and he's going to die anyway. Wouldn't he want to be the guy that brought Russia to nuclear war? Who knows? So the problem is a lot of our senators, a lot of our military guys getting on television announcing what we should be doing. We should be using stuff, which we are, backdoor channels as far as intelligence, and telling people near Putin they need to talk him out of it, because when it comes down to it, if he gets cute with weapons of mass destruction, we're gonna destroy his country, which I don't want to do. Don't get me wrong, but we need someone in the back channel to either talk him into it or ideally a coup, because these generals are getting squeezed. The big wigs around him and some of the richer oligarchs, if you will, are getting squeezed, and the people around him are going to get tired of it, and they need to get to Putin himself. But he's a smart guy. He's a KGB intel officer. So he's got tight circles followed by tight circles, medium circles. And it's not going to be something like when we flew into Abbottabad, Pakistan with a group of Navy SEALs. You're not going to do that in Moscow. It's got to be behind the scenes, and it needs to be a coup or assassination, but that's something you can't say as a senator on TV, which they're doing. So we're in a tough spot. I mean,
so in other words, it has to be done from the inside, is what you're saying. This is out of the Julius Caesar playbook here.
Pretty much.
Well,
I don't mean to be so morbid.
No.
I wake up in a good mood every day, get a nice cup of coffee, and I'm happy.
I want to shift here to Rob O'Neill, and I want to go back to how things began for you, which was in a small town in Montana, and it sounds like you grew up learning how to hunt. That was sort of the thing to do in Montana. When did that start? When was the first time you learned to pull a trigger?
I didn't. The first time I went hunting, I didn't even pull a trigger. It was because I was with my father, and he went on his adventure same way I joined the Navy. My adventures, because he got dumped, his second divorce, and his brother Jack told him we needed to do something, and that was to go hunting. So he was obviously he was not a minor, so he could buy an over the counter I think antelope permit or tag or something like that. And we went out hunting in a Datsun. And I just learned from watching it, because I was young, maybe 10 or 11. And I watched people hunt, and I just kind of fell in love with it off the bat. And it wasn't just the hunt. Antelope hunting, if you're not familiar with it, it's out in the fields. Antelope don't jump fences. They don't go in trees. They just run across these fields. So it's more of a drive the truck, try to find them. Very, very unsafe looking back. As a Navy SEAL range officer in charge, I would have handed out so many safety violations. But it was just fun because you're not hiking up in the hills. It's not in the snow. And you have a huge cooler full of gas station sandwiches, zingers, and soda. And it was just awesome. And we were lucky we got an animal the first day. So did everyone in our crew. And I couldn't wait to do it. You go to school in Butte, Montana, and the first Monday, I don't care if it's elementary, junior high, high school, we're talking about how the hunt was, who got what. And I wanted to be part of the club. And so I would go out there before I could shoot. And, then I got to the age of maybe 12 or 13, took hunter safety, what you need to do. And then I could get my own tags. I did get my own gun. My first gun was a hand-me-down 30-06. And then I got a 300 Winchester Magnum and we started hunting elk. And I got to the age of 14 and 15 where I started to take it seriously. And I almost like I started thinking tactics. But this is way before I was going to join the military. I was never going to join the military. Yeah. But I started thinking tactics like, okay, I watch a lot of these dudes, they're big orange vests, but also they're big, huge guts. And that means they're kind of lazy and they're just driving the roads again. They don't want to, they just kind of look at the mountains, but they don't go up. And these elk are smart. I know they use the wind and their eyesight, and they have patterns of how they eat in the night and they go up. And I was like, well, why don't I go up to the top of the hill when it's still dark and wait for them to come to me? And it worked. And it, from 14 to the time I joined the Navy at 19, there wasn't a year that I didn't get a bull elk. And and bull elk, that there are people now that have been hunting for 20 years who've never seen one.
So was this something that you did with your father? Like, was this a bonding event between the two?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that was our thing. Before we started playing basketball, hunting was our thing. It took us to Alaska for caribou and bear and moose and stuff like that. We got a moose in Montana. And we'd practice it. We'd sight in our guns. We'd look at hunting magazines. And that was it until we started basketball. Then we did both.
Yeah. So you were a bit of an athlete too here doing the basketball. Were you generally like the popular kid or were you the outsider? Like when you look back?
Well, I went to a small school, a Catholic school from elementary on through junior high school and then high school. So it was a small group, and I was pretty good at hanging out with everybody. Like I had there was the jocks, your typical, stud athletes, but like today they're probably sitting at the same bar stool at Maloney's Bar on Main Street in Butte, Montana. And then you got my guys that were sort of the not quite in crowd, but funny, and they grew up to be engineers. Right. And I was talking to four of them today.
But which group were you in?
I was more of an athlete, but I hung out with everybody. I'd work out with the athletes, but then they mostly hunted too. But then I'd go hunting with my other friends that didn't play sports. So I kind of got along. I mean, you're talking when we graduated, we had 26 people in the graduating class, so it wasn't that big.
Oh yeah, wow. And this was, what was the name of the town in Montana?
Butte, Montana.
So as I understand it, this was primarily a mining town. Was that the main industry there?
Yeah, that's how it started out. The story I got was a lot of immigrants from Europe came over, obviously, like everybody, and they moved west. I think they first stopped near Denver, and then they went, they mined there, and then they went north to Butte, Montana, and that became known as the richest hill on earth.
But when you were growing up, like I'm guessing people graduate high school and you pretty much go right to the mines. Is that how it worked for most of your friends?
Some would, but what a lot of people do is because there's a place called Montana Tech, and I think it's Montana Tech of the University of Montana, but it's an engineering school, one of the top engineering schools in the country, especially for geology. And that's where a lot of guys go to learn how to be the boss in the mines or learn stuff like that, or basically a lot of different engineering, electrical engineering, stuff like that. So a lot of guys go there because it's in Butte, same place, and it's comfortable. And then, got a couple of universities in there. Most people stay in Montana, though. They don't really leave Montana.
But you didn't want to stay in Montana, though. You didn't want to stay in this small town, did you?
Initially, I did. I actually played basketball at Montana Tech, and my plan was to, get my initial credits done, and then get my MBA either from the University of Montana or a Montana State, and I was going to work with my dad. That was my plan when I went to college. I learned very early on, though, life happens around you as you're planning. Like when you make your plan, God's going to laugh at you because it's not happening. You're going to do something else. You're going to do something else, usually.
Yeah, the Mike Tyson quote.
Oh, yeah. I love that quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
That's how you keep it simple. That's legit.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten punched a few times. That's why my face is probably so numb. So as I understand it, in terms of the military and your plan, wasn't to join the SEALs or even the Navy for that matter.
No,
You were signing up, or trying to sign up for the Marines.
Marine Corps.
The recruiter had stepped away. There was a Navy recruiter that was there, and he just sort of grabbed you. And next thing you know, you're in the Navy. Is that how it happened?
The reason I went in there, and I've told this story before, but it's the truth, is I had two friends who went to Butte Central High School with me that were 2 years older that always wanted to be Marines. Mm-hmm. As long as I'd known them, they wanted to be Marines. And they joined the Marine Corps, and every time they came back on leave, they looked like U.S. Marines, great haircuts, studs. And they told me something that I didn't know. They said the Marine Corps is actually part of the Department of the Navy. It's just the men's department. And it's a joke. And because they said that, I'm like, well, the Marine's not here, but if they're part of the Department of the Navy, he'll know where he is. And I went in and asked him, where's a Marine? And he asked me why. And I said, I want to be a sniper. Marines have the best snipers in the world. He said, look no further, we have snipers in the Navy. And he sort of coerced me into joining the Navy to be a SEAL. He didn't really get into what a SEAL was. It was more of a go to SEAL training, get through that, and then we'll send you to sniper school.
Right. Just get through SEAL training.
Like, you know how 19-year-olds know everything? I knew I was kind of naive. Here's how I knew nothing. If I knew I didn't know anything, I would have known something. But I was like, I'm kind of naive, don't know what a SEAL is, but this guy's a professional recruiter. Why would he lie to me?
Right. So as far as getting into the military, trying to understand, if you look back, were you running toward the military, or were you more running away from this small town and this was like an escape route for you?
It was an escape route because it was something that I think a lot of people, doesn't matter where you're from, a lot of people have grown up at that age and said, I just got to get out of here, because that's what they know. And that I've heard that across the country talking to different people. And it was more of I got to leave home. I learned more about the Navy. And I actually remember thinking, no, this is kind of cool because, I'm going to go to Great Lakes, Illinois. And I was off the bat, I was really interested in naval customs and courtesies. I like the old, the sailor stuff. I want to learn about the Navy, and I'll get to learn about that. I'll go to SEAL training, probably won't make it, but then I'll get on a ship, see the world. That's going to be cool. And it just seemed like a really cool thing to me. So it was getting out of town, but now it's like, I'm going to go check this out for 4 years. If I don't make it, fine. Anyways, I actually learned, I did go on a few ships as a SEAL, but I was still on ships. And I think another thing with recruiters not being quite honest is, join the Navy and see the world from, 15 miles away.
Right.
But I thought I was just kind of neat, and it still fascinated me, even when I was in, even when I made Chief Petty Officer, which is the senior enlisted rank. There's a place on Navy ships called the Chief's Mess, where it's only chiefs, senior chiefs, and master chiefs can go in, and that's where they eat. That's where they hang out and have coffee, play cards. And even as a SEAL, even on the Captain Phillips rescue, when we were on the USS Boxer, I made it a point to go to the Chiefs Mess just to hang out with Navy chiefs, because I want to hear what you do. Like, there's a quartermaster chief, there's the supply chief, there's the mess chief. I want to hear how the team works. And it was just very interesting to me that so I mean, even from the beginning, I still have the notebook that the recruiter gave me with my little package. I still have the times I wrote down when I was trying to make sure I could swim fast enough. And it still gives me goosebumps thinking about that paperwork. And I remember the chief it was a chief that enlisted me. And his name was John Judy. I'll never forget. He was a Navy chief. And I just thought it was neat, even though I'm sure he never thought I was going to be a SEAL. I mean, Montana, we don't have a lot of guys from Montana join the Navy. We don't have a lot of guys that swim.
Well, let me ask you on that, because, it didn't seem like, you had a lot of support. Like, your friends and family didn't think you'd even make the cut, which Rob, that's got to be pretty discouraging to have the people that you're closest to doubt you.
It's discouraging, but it's a motivator also. I remember a friend that I talked to this morning, still one of my best friends in the world. He seemed to know more about the military than I did before I joined it. And I remember him saying, these guys do sit-ups with 2,000-pound logs. You don't have a prayer. And it was just because he was naive of what they do. But I mean, you see them, they get elevated on this pedestal. And that's a mindset thing too. If you really think you can't do something, or someone's better than you, you're probably not going to do it. So and it was nothing against me. I love these guys. They love me, but they're like, come on, man, be realistic. You're going to go in there. You're going to be in the Navy 4 years. We'll be back here in 4 years. Or we're going to be chilling out at the Blue Villa. And that was it. And some guys I worked, even guys I didn't know, that were my age or a year older. I did work at a mine for the summer before I left. And one of these dudes is like, you're going to be a Navy SEAL? No, you're not. I'm like, well, we'll see, I guess.
But just to clarify here, you played basketball and you hunted. you were not a swimmer. You didn't play water polo. I mean,
Oh,
you got to be pretty proficient in the water. I'm pretty sure last
yeah.
time I checked on what the Navy SEALs do. So you're starting at a base of zero, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, here's how naive we are in Butte, Montana, just in a bubble in which we live. I didn't think water polo was a real sport. People don't play water polo. They don't play lacrosse. It's not real because I'd never been anywhere. I've been to Butte, Montana. That's it.
Hmm.
And as far as swimming, I just got lucky. I met a friend at a pool that did go on to swim at Notre Dame, but he was one of the guys of the 3 in the total high school that were on a swim team. I think they combined swim teams from Butte Central to Butte High School, and no one went to the meets. No one really cared because no one swims. We're going to hunt. I could hike in the mountains. I had really good. I was in really good cardiovascular shape simply because I lived at 5,000 feet and I would hike to 10,000 feet after elk. And I was so naive. I didn't know that was an advantage. I didn't know there was thinner air at high altitude because I just lived there. But yeah, I mean the SEAL thing. I mean, no one had ever joined to be a Navy SEAL from Butte, Montana, ever. If you join the military from Montana, you're going to the Army or you're going to the Marine Corps, possibly the Air Force because there's a base in Great Falls, Montana. But that's it. The Navy SEAL. We heard about it because my friend Charlie Sheen made a kick-ass movie called Navy SEALs in like 1989.
But once you found out what the Navy SEALs is all about, right? I mean, it's the most intense, most grueling kind of program anywhere to get into. That didn't deter you at all. You didn't say, "Well, wait a minute, maybe I'll just join the Navy and not be a SEAL right away."
No. That was a focus. That became a focus. I need to make it through. Actually, I need to just not quit.
Why?
Because I've always been a believer that there's a huge difference between failing and quitting. If you fail, that just means something went wrong or it didn't work out your way, but you can always try again. If you quit, you admitted something was better. And I even now, I'm about to turn 46 years old. I'm a much big believer that you learn a hell of a lot more from failure than you do from success. So I went in there with a focus, but I mean, even again, I had already signed the paper. And my biggest concern was the very, very simple test to get accepted for orders to get to SEAL training. It has nothing to do with SEAL training. Mm-hmm. It's a 500-yard swim, no fins, breaststroke or side stroke. It's 8 pull-ups, or it was 8 pull-ups, 42 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and a 1.5-mile run in boots. Not hard at all. And so my biggest concern was I need to be able to swim 500 yards with no fins, breaststroke in this time. Then I was like, the 8 pull-ups. I'll go down. There's a place by my house called Clark Park. And they had monkey bars. And I said, well, I'm going to go see how many pull-ups I can do. I didn't know how hard pull-ups are, and they're hard. And I got these big gangly arms. I couldn't do 1 pull-up. And it's like, okay, the run I can do probably in boots. I can't swim. I can't do pull-ups. I got to get focused. So I had my stepfather build me a pull-up bar in my house so I could turn on the old school CD player, listen to Guns N' Roses, and do as many pull-ups as I can over and over. And that's, again, what I learned about keeping it simple. How do you get better at pull-ups? Well, you do pull-ups. That's it. I want to get better at them. We'll do more. Well, how do I do more? You do more. So I would do pull-ups, listen to Guns N' Roses, drink water. So this is after I left. I'd already left college, but I still had my my college ID. So, and they had a pool at Montana Tech, so I could go up there, 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and practice swimming. And that was it. And the swimming was miserable until I ran into my friend that swam at Notre Dame. And he said, "What? Great to see you. What gives?" And I said, "Nothing." And he said, "Don't get me wrong. I've just never seen you in the pool before." I said, "Yeah, I joined the Navy this week, and I'm going to be a SEAL." And he said, "Not like that. You're not. Get back in the pool. I'll show you how to do it."
Oh, wow, that's great.
Taught me the breaststroke, and I'd practice that every day. And it got to a point where I wanted to swim 500 yards, and then I want to swim 500 yards this time. Okay, now I want to swim 1,000 yards. I'll time the first 500. Now I want to swim 2,000 yards at once. And I just kept doing that. And then I'd finish that, go eat whatever breakfast I could find at my mom's house. And then I would go work on pull-ups for a couple hours.
So just to sort of, fast forward the tape a little bit. I mean, you end up obviously getting in, and Bud's training, I think it's been pretty much glamorized by Hollywood, and everyone has heard about it. It's again, the most intense training program, certainly up there with any other kind of, special operations training programs. And you mentioned, one of the many exercises you got to work through, something called drown proofing. Yeah. And I think that's one where you had this interesting tactic where you would sort of find a way to, get really calm, through that. So could you explain what is drown proofing and what is it that you did so you got through that with relative ease?
Well, drown proofing is a timed evolution where we would call our every different thing we do an evolution. So drown proofing is where they tie your hands behind your back and they tie your feet together and then they throw you in the pool.
With everyone else.
Yeah. So you have a big class at first, 140 guys. So they'll do it in like 4 different groups. So they'll make you sit and watch people do it so you can get psyched out, like I'm going to freak out. And there's a dude sitting in with their legs in the pool, and then there's guys in the pool, and they rotate. And hands behind your back. The first set of drills for maybe 10 minutes is exhaling to prove you're not buoyant without air in your lungs. So you exhale, go to the bottom, and then kick up, and then inhale big, and then exhale. And usually it's called bobbing. And so that's really easy actually, and but it's designed to get in your head that like the next thing we have to do is float. And that's really hard. Floating tied up is not easy because you need to learn that your lungs are in your back. So you need to sort of bend into an L and put your back out of the water, but your head's under, but your back is floating. And you can't touch the bottom on this one. So you need to start kicking a little bit, really bring your head up, exhale, inhale, and then you're floating again. And you keep doing that for 5 or 10 minutes. And then after that, they have you swim. You got to swim a couple 100 meters tied up. But during this, you have to swim to the shallow end, which is maybe 3 feet deep, but you're not allowed to touch the bottom at all. You need to go to the side, turn around, kick, and you're swimming back and forth that way. And then you go back and you're doing the bobbing exercises.
Right. But everyone else, it sounds like, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of the people get pretty quickly into a state of panic. And so what was it that you did that you were able to sort of get through that?
Well, what I realized again, and you'll hear me say, keep it simple and master the basics. What I realized is that panicking right now is not going to help me. So I might as well not panic.
But when you say don't panic, right? I mean, easier said than done, right? Because it's
not though. It's just calm down. Take a step back. And sometimes literally, like if you're even in a board meeting and you're too immersed, literally, physically take a step back and then calm down. I mean, it sounds simple, but it is.
But was that a technique that you learned, or
I learned everything that I know now. I learned through negative reinforcements. Okay. It just made sense. It's like, okay, because I mean, if you go in there and start you're not getting untied, and you're going to wear yourself out and you're going to freak yourself out. Just take a wrap off, man. Just chill out.
Right. But I mean, everyone else is thrashing around.
A lot of people are. I mean, that's they get a lot of people there because, especially when you freak out and then they pull you out and calm you down. They're like, okay, you're going back in. That you're in a head game with yourself right now, and it's I mean, it's okay to be afraid, but panic has never solved anything. Fear has, but panic hasn't. And panic's contagious. Like you're saying, looking around everyone else panicking, that's contagious as hell because like, well, they're panicking. I might panic.
Right.
Yeah. No, they're teaching you this without telling you they're teaching you this.
Huh.
It's a fascinating course.
Well, I mean, so I'm curious with that, was this important? Obviously, it's not like you're going to be in a position when you're, in warfare where you're going to have your hands and your feet tied up. And is it more just about we need people to learn how to deal with, stress and let's put them in stressful situations?
That's all it is. It has nothing to do with.
Okay.
I mean, it does have something to do with making you comfortable in water because when it all comes down to it, that's our primary gig is water hops. And even to the point where like, it's been silly, like near a lake or an ocean. It's like, imagine if I got in a fight here. I'm not fighting on the beach. I'm taking them in the water. Silly, but it's just, we got really comfortable in the water. I mean, we got so comfortable in the water to the point that it is whatever. I mean, we can get into missions later in Iraq where we just swam in because, well, why not? They're not going to bomb us in there. But yeah, it's a mindset thing. And I mean, that's just one thing. Like, that's not the whole course. That's one thing.
Yeah. The whole entire course is so give me a taste of Hell Week. Give me like a typical day of Hell Week.
There is no typical day. It's one day. It's Sunday afternoon until Friday afternoon.
Okay.
That's it. And it's
no sleep.
No, I mean, if you get sleep, it's because they sat you down with a meal ready to eat MRE and you're eating on the beach at 2 a.m. and they let you sit an extra 15 minutes and that's your time to sleep, even though they don't say sleep. That's it. Mm-hmm. And for the whole week combined, they might give you 4 total hours. Maybe starting Wednesday. By Wednesday, like the goal, like I'm a big believer that in life, it's not a big goal. It's a matter of short goals. And the long-term goal for Hell Week is to see the sunrise on Wednesday. If you can see the sun come up on Wednesday, you're going to be so hallucinated. It doesn't matter. You're going to make it to Friday. But yeah, so Hell Week starts on Sunday with the famous breakout, which is, you're intense, and Navy SEALs instructors are running in, shooting off machine guns and obviously fake, blanks, fake grenades, and then they're running around. They're getting you in complete chaos at first because it's organized chaos, but they're trying to tell you to keep a head count. What's the head count? Yelling at the officers, yelling at the senior enlisted, and nobody knows it's designed that way to see you can handle it. And then you just start doing drills. We're split up into boat crews of 7 people. So you carry boats everywhere on your heads, 3 on each side and a guy in the back. And they're actually testing the guy in the back because the guy in the back's kind of just holding onto the boat. And that's generally the boat crew leader, which is an officer. And they want to see, does the officer just stay back there without the paint on his head, or does he switch out with his guys? Is he an actual leader, or is he just a guy that's going to let his guys do all the work? And they don't know that's happening, but it's happening. And you run everywhere with the boats. So you run, I think that, you're running to the obstacle course. You're doing every obstacle with the boats, which is ridiculous. You're trying to see how you work as a team. You're doing what's called surf passes, where you're going over the big California waves, trying to get out there. You dump your boat over, so you come back, all this bullshit. Run to the pool, which is 1.5 miles away, and you do pool drills with boats there, all kinds of weird stuff, and then run back to the beach, 1.5 miles. It's 1 mile to the chow hall. It's 1 mile to chow hall, so you run 6 miles a day just to eat anyway. So this happens. I mean, it's hard to describe. They do. There's a famous evolution called steel pier, where they bring you to their piers, like where you put boats in, but they're steel, so they're cold. Well, they throw you in the water, and then you do it's a different kind of life saving, where you take like your top off and you learn how to blow it up and use it as flotation. Old shipwreck things in the Navy. Take your boots off, tie them around your neck. Take your pants off, you blow those up, and they're teaching. It's all crap, but they make you think you're getting colder in the water because you're taking your stuff off, which is not true. You're just as cold. And then you're thrown, and then they pull you out, and then they lay you on the steel pier, and they got these cold hoses, and they're just spraying you with cold water. And it's a total mind game.
So, I hear these stories of trainees that are in incredible physical shape. I mean, you sort of have to be, but some even more so than others, right? Incredible endurance, or maybe lots of muscle, very little body fat. These people have been athletes, they've trained, and they're just quitting left and right. So when you look back, is it really just all about mental fortitude? It's just who wants it the most?
It is. And it's physical, but the mental part comes in talking yourself through the shin splints.
But everyone that's there can do the physical. Like everyone could get through if they really, really wanted to, but most decide it's not worth the torture, I assume.
I mean, some guys fail some of the tests. Some guys can't swim 2 miles that fast. Some can't run that fast, and they fail. Some fail, some get dropped. A lot quit because it just sucks. Like a lot of these stud athletes, to be perfectly honest, they've been getting their butts kissed their whole lives, being told they're the best, and they have been the best, and they're the best football player on their team forever. And now they're here, and they suck, and they purposely beat them, and the guys just have enough. They quit. And the guys that tried out and quit them, that's fine. They quit. A lot of people quit. A lot more people quit than don't. But they never ask. They're not asking you to do anything impossible, so you can do it.
Well, so you graduate, of course, and you become a Navy SEAL, and again, fast forward a little bit here. 9/11 happens. Was it pretty instantaneous that you sort of recognize this as a terrorist act orchestrated by bin Laden, or did it take a while to sort of piece that together?
It was. We were questioning it because we were at a SEAL team in Germany, a unit, not a team. In an operations center, and they switched. It's a place like you see in the movies. That there's computers everywhere and there's computer screens up. And they switched to one of the major news stations, and they said a plane had hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And we're all looking at it like, that's weird, because now we're looking at it from an analytical point of view or an intel point of view. It's like, well, that's a nice day, man. Is that an accident? How would a pilot? And then they're saying that we have reports of a Cessna. And we'd all been to the World Trade Center. We're like, that's a really big building, and that's a really big hole. That's not a Cessna. And we're kind of, because it's one of those things where something bad has never happened means it won't. Mm-hmm. And then we saw the second plane hit, and it was a matter of, we knew instantly it's an attack. And within seconds, one of the guys in the room said Osama bin Laden. I'm like, this is Al Qaeda. Mm. So we knew right away. We didn't know what we were going to do. We just finished up a tour in Kosovo doing recon and surveillance type stuff, and we thought that was as close to war as we were ever going to get. And then this happened, and it's like, wow, this changes everything.
Well, next thing you know, of course, we go into Iraq, we go into Afghanistan. As I understand it, Rob, you weren't getting maybe as much action as you had hoped. And so you decided to join the, if I get this right here, the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, aka SEAL Team 6, which again, it's sort of been glamorized by Hollywood. I think we've all heard of it. But maybe you could explain, what is this, SEAL Team 6, and how does one become a member of it? Because I imagine it's not that easy.
No, it's hard. It's a tier 1 unit, one of 2 tier 1 units in the U.S. military, and it's essentially hostage rescue. SEAL Team 6 was designed to rescue American hostages at sea. Someone who'd been hijacked, taken over, pirates, cruise ships, things like that. But the acronym SEAL is sea, air, and land. And some of our guys from SEAL Team 6 were some of the first into Afghanistan. And the first SEAL we lost was from my future squadron, Neil Roberts, who was killed in Operation Anaconda on top of Takur Gar, which ended up calling Roberts Ridge. And we knew they were getting in the fight. They're going to be in the fight. And we'd see these guys out in town, and they looked different. They were the first guys to grow the beards, grow the long hair, not to blend in, just the realization that you're going to be dealing with locals in Afghanistan. They don't look like military guys. You're never going to blend in. That's something Hollywood gets wrong. You're never going to blend in or speak the language with them because they're going to know who you are. Right. But it's more of a matter of respect. Like, men grow beards. That's how it is.
Okay.
And I knew they were fighting. I knew we weren't fighting that much, and certainly weren't going to get the high profile missions I wanted to be on. So I went there. Now, the process to get there is you need to be a Navy SEAL for 5 or 6 years, get approved by your team that you're at. And then you go through a screening process full of interviews, psychological evaluations, a lot of physical tests.
So the BUDS training wasn't enough of the mental and physical.
These are different. The test to get in is something, I could be wrong, but I think it's bench pressure body weight 10 times, followed by do 10 pull-ups with a 45-pound weight, and then a 5-mile timed run, I think. About that, and that's just to get to the interviews, and then you do psychological. And no, this is just the first part to see if they want you. You do like 3 weeks of interviews, that same test again, and then if they like you, like, they hand around your picture to guys that are already there, not a biography, just a picture, and they give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And then too many thumbs down, you're not going to make it. If you get enough thumbs up and you pass the required shit, then they bring you to a 9-month selection course, which is longer than BUDS, longer than SEAL training. And it's harder, but it's different because it's not all physical. I mean, you will start the day off with a nice, fast 12-mile run, but now you're getting into more tactics, close quarters battle, CQB, mobile operations, urban terrain, mount, a lot of skydiving, high altitude, high opening jumps, navigation in the air, land navigation, vehicle navigation, heavy weapons. And it's all tests. It's all stress tests, mental stress tests to see how you handle pressure. And and by that, I mean, they'll put you through drills and tell you failed something and punish you for failing, even though you don't think you failed. You know you didn't fail, and they know you didn't fail. But they hammer you for it. They punish you for it, and then they put you right back in the front, and you're doing it again because they want to see how you handle making a mistake you didn't make. They want to see, it's like, you didn't screw up, but we punished you for it. Can you get over it? And that's great advice for life. Whatever it is right now, get over it. Learn from it and get over it. Put that shit down. You're only accountable to yourself. Get over it. That's dead weight. It's not helping. So this 9 months course, actually, 50% of the Navy SEALs who try out don't make it. And that's incredible. Thinking these are guys that successfully navigated the most difficult training in the world. They failed this. But the guys who do, now you're part of that tier 1 unit. And now you're at a point where you're no longer expected to learn tactics because no one can teach you. You need to invent them. You need to see what your enemy is doing and adapt. What did we do when we came in? And I know they adapted to us. How did we adapt to them? And how do I teach my guys how to do that? And then don't get caught up in the worst thing you can say when you're running a team is, this is the way we've always done it. That's nonsense. There can be a better way. There can be a better way. Make sure it's the quickest, most efficient, the safest way to do it.
You know, you mentioned sort of this is a big part of SEAL Team 6 is doing these rescues. And I didn't realize until reading the book that you were on that SEAL team which rescued Captain Phillips. And so just to refresh people's memories, or maybe those that don't even know, some Somali pirates had hijacked this cargo ship and took Captain Phillips hostage. And it was some sort of like enclosed fiberglass lifeboat that was sort of floating behind.
It was being towed by a Navy destroyer, the USS Bainbridge.
Yeah. And so it was such a dramatic story, this whole rescue, that they made into a movie starring Tom Hanks. So, you get this call, and I think it was on your birthday.
Good Friday, April 10th, 2009, my birthday.
And so, what 1 minute, as I understand it, you're attending some preschool function.
On my daughter's preschool, your Easter tea party, yeah.
So, preschool event for your daughter, and literally 15 hours later, after you get the call, you're jumping out of a plane over the Indian Ocean to rescue Captain Phillips,
Yeah.
which in itself is probably a lesson in logistics that is just incredible. So there you are, and there's Captain Phillips. How did this go down? Walk through how this rescue happened.
The logistics you talked about were incredible because you got to think we never, we never done this. SEAL Team 6 was commissioned in 1980, and we had never done it. But we had trained on, not me, I mean, way before I got there. I'm talking, they were starting training on this when I was 4 years old. But they're training on it. Everything from a nuclear ship to a yacht to a cruise ship, blah, blah, blah. And we thought of everything. We never thought of a fully engulfed orange lifeboat being towed by a destroyer. So we had that flight to come up with a plan. We didn't know what the hell we're going to do. When I got the call, and we've been selling, we could basically be anywhere in the world in 24 hours. As soon as I got the message, I started my watch, and 15 hours and 46 minutes later, we had a full head count already in the water on the boats. But we didn't know what we were going to do on the flight over. So we have roughly 15 hours to come up with a plan. Now, if you consider the logistics, by the time we got the call, we would be off the deck in a matter of hours. So that's 2 C-17s, 2 boats apiece. Those boats need to have the parachutes, 2 each on there. So the parachute riggers had to be there. The load mess had to be there to put them in the thing. The parachutes need to be packed for us to have extra chutes in case we're jumping tandems. All the Navy SEALs had to be there, guns loaded, ready to go. What if we stay longer? All this stuff's ready. And we had it all there. We took off in time, and then we came up with a plan. And the plan was everyone on each plane come up with a plan. And we're gonna narrow it down. And I'm talking the junior guy in here. Maybe you have the best idea. What's your plan? And that's what we were doing. And so we came up with plans. I came up with an awesome plan because I started thinking, these are pirates. They're not terrorists. And they realize they screwed up. And they're homesick, they're seasick, and they're out of cot, which is that drug they take. So if we can convince them, like give them radios that we'll just drop you off, you just give us the captain, we'll kind of lie to them until the sun's down. My team will be on the beach. When they come off, we're going to negotiate or shoot them. That was my plan. I thought it was awesome. Other guys came up with everything from ramming the ships with our fast boats or something to negotiating.
But what was the plan that you ended up executing? Like, walk me through the actual playbook of what happened here.
We were going to execute my plan.
Okay.
And we had snipers on the back of the Bain Bridge to watch them. You just make sure nothing unsafe happens as we're preparing for the rescue.
Okay.
As we were preparing for the rescue, something unsafe happened, and they just shot. And they didn't tell each other, hey, we're shooting in 3, 2, 1. I'm talking one sniper shot, and the other 2 heard him and shot that fast.
What is it that happened? Were they firing or something?
They were doing mock executions of Captain Phillips. So they had a pistol, they put it to his head. They're like, one of these times they're going to pull the trigger. So they got the shots, and they took them. And the cool thing about that is there was a 4-day weekend. It was Easter weekend, and we got the call on a Friday.
So sorry, just to get into details here for a second. Where was this shot? How far away was the shot coming from? Because I'm also assuming, like, are you on the boat, the first boat?
I was getting coffee.
No, I'm sorry, not you, but the one that shot him.
On the back of the ship.
So you're on the back of a ship in the ocean. That's moving. And then this fiberglass lifeboat where Captain Phillips was being held hostage, that's moving. Yeah. And so now you've got a shot with everything sort of moving under and around you. I assume you're a sniper. That's not an easy shot, is it?
Not an easy shot at all. And the part I was getting to is these guys were in Virginia Beach in their own beds 4 days prior, and it was a long weekend. Their guns did not need to be sighted in for the most difficult shots they'll ever take in their lives. But we'd never done it in over 28 years. And you can imagine that, well, we've never done this. Their guns were sighted in because they didn't get complacent. They were ready. And they took the shots. They weren't even the plan, but that's how they did. That's how the Navy SEAL snipers work. And these guys, and the cool thing about that is when they shot, one of my buddies who was the lead sniper was actually at my wedding a couple of years ago. And when he finished that, I remember saying, because this is 2 years before bin Laden. He was also on that mission. I said, do you realize that you have just done the most important thing in the history of the SEAL teams? And his response was, cool, can we go home now? But so you got to figure that boat's moving, the other boat's moving, there's wind, we're at sea, and it's I don't know if it was a night or it might have been a daytime shot, whatever. What if they miss? If they miss, Captain Phillips is dead. But they didn't.
Yeah. Wow. So, all right, let's get to bin Laden. So as I understand it, once they identified, what's going on and where bin Laden is staying, the SEALs built a full-scale replica of this compound where bin Laden was staying. And I assume you would sort of use that to practice this mission over and over again. How many times did you go through this dress rehearsal?
We were practicing nonstop all day, all night for a couple of weeks. And what we were practicing was called fast roping, where it's a simple way to insert. You push out a big green rope and you grab it with your hands and you slide down the rope fast. It's called fast rope. We practiced so many times. I have, to this day, even this morning, I have such severe arthritis from holding onto that rope every time, to the point where during the mission, I was like, can we just pretend we fast roped? Because we know how to do it. Why are we doing this? Why are we? It's like, I talk to young kids and those, not young kids, like teenage kids, and they'll say, well, I'm going to be a SEAL. What should I do to prepare? And I'll say, what are you doing to prepare? And they say, I'm taking a cold shower every day to get used to it. And I'll say, that's a horrible idea. You don't get used to it. I'll explain it to you. If I told you 30 days from now, I'm going to kick you in the nuts as hard as I can, 30 days. And in order to get ready for it, you had your best friend every single day kick you in the nuts. Guess what? It's still going to suck when I do it. Don't practice. Don't practice something that's ridiculous. But anyway.
But so they just want to get it in muscle memory. Is that the point?
They wanted us to prove to the powers that be that we were the guys that could do it. When they told us they found bin Laden, we said, sweet, are we going right now?
Actually, when they say us, how did you even get selected? Was it just the whole SEAL Team 6, or how does that happen?
Oh, no, it was the guys that were most senior as far as experience at the right time at SEAL Team 6, meaning there's rotations, training, and then war, and then training, and then war. We happen to be in a spot where that's the team that no one will notice is training because they're supposed to be training. And who are the senior guys? I was one of the senior guys.
Okay. So at some point, I think during this training, you and your other SEALs came to the conclusion that this would likely be a one-way mission. That is, you weren't going to get out alive. Why did you think that?
There was too many variables in combat. You want to keep it as easy, as simple again as you can. Mm-hmm. And we're going to fly into a sovereign nation that's not third world, that has first world air defenses. That's one. The pilots have never flown this helicopter. That's two. We don't know if the technology works. So that's 1, 2, 3 right there that we could get shot down. When we get there, there is going to be a gunfight, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So there's bullets flying, and I don't care how good you are, a bullet needs to be right once. If anyone is going to blow himself up while we're inside with his entire family, and we've seen it recently with ISIS, it's bin Laden, we are going to run out of fuel because there's no fuel stops in the way. And like most people don't realize, in a long combat mission in Iraq or Afghanistan, we have forward operating bases with fuel refueling. Mm-hmm. There's not that here. We're going to run out of fuel, and we're going to either fight it out with the Pakistani police and military and either die there, or we're going to end up in a Pakistani prison for our short, miserable lives. We're not coming home.
Now, again, you've got a wife now. You've got one child or two children?
3 girls.
3 girls. Okay, so very different Rob married with 3 kids than Rob young, single, right, going off to fight. Knowing that this was going to be a one-way mission, I mean, was this at this point really a cause worth dying for?
Yeah, totally. That's what we came for. That's why we're here. I mean, I joined the Navy for different reasons, but after 9/11, this is what I'm here for. And there's a drop on request policy. You can quit anytime you want, but this is why we're here. And if you're not here for that, you shouldn't be here. That's the guys I want to go with. I mean, there's so many different emotions as far, because you think about the reason we're going is not for the fame. We're going for the first Americans to fight Al-Qaeda toe to toe. And that was the passengers on Flight 93 that saved the Capitol building. And those Americans who were just trying to go to California that day took a vote, which is as American as it gets. Are we going to fight or not? They voted. Let's roll. We're going for those guys. What would their family say if we didn't fight for them? We're going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday and then 45 minutes later jumped to her death out of a skyscraper, because that's a better alternative than whatever's going on inside that we'll never know. At 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, she looked down and made a choice, and she grabbed a stranger's hand, and her last gesture of human decency was holding her skirt down. She was never supposed to be in the fight. The people at the Pentagon didn't go to war that day, but they were at war. We're going for them. And it's almost like a Braveheart type moment where, if you don't go, you'll live, but eventually dying at 85 on your deathbed, if you could give every single day you live from that to now, would you give it up for one shot at this guy? And we talked about this, and the answer is yes, it's worth it.
I remember a few years back, I interviewed someone on the podcast that he set the record for the highest free fall jump ever, and very high risk endeavor that he did. And his wife made him write a farewell letter to his kids, so he really would think it through. Did you have to do anything like that?
Yeah, I wrote letters to my kids, not to them at that age, but to them at their age when they were married, telling them, I'm sorry I missed your wedding. I know you're beautiful. Thanks for taking care of your sisters and what we did, explaining the nobility of why we did it.
Did they ever see those letters?
First thing I did was shred them. As soon as I got done, I shredded them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I don't want to talk. I don't want to see them. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to talk about them. That's what happened.
So they never saw those letters.
No idea.
So, you're in this Chinook helicopter.
Yeah, no, the
Black Hawk. You're being transported to the operation. Everyone had a different way of handling the waiting period, right? And the gravity of the moment. And you mentioned that some fell asleep, some were listening to music.
I thought that was cool as hell. Can you imagine being the guy that fell asleep on the ride to bin Laden's house? Like, I'm looking at, like, talk about managing stress. Because that's one of those things where if you're worrying about something that your worry is not going to change it, why are you wasting your energy? Stop worrying about it. So our idea was, look, a missile's either going to hit us or it ain't. It's not going to turn around because I'm worried. So stop worrying. If you're worried about something right now that doesn't affect, save your energy.
But didn't you have this method? I don't know if this was just about killing the boredom or what, but of counting from 0 to 1,000 and then back.
0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 0.
And what was behind that?
I learned that as a sniper in Kosovo. That we're laying in these hide side is just like a camouflage area, and you're watching a small village, and all we're doing in Kosovo is making sure no one comes in and bullies the locals. And I don't give a shit if they're who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Live and let live. You fuck with someone, I'm going to have a problem. Sorry about the language. I'm starting to get fired up.
No, all good.
And so I learned, looking through the same guy leaning on a telephone post for 4 hours, that watching him gets boring. So I need to amuse myself and keep my mind working. So I would count from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 0. And I would change the frequency, change the cadence, if you will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So it wasn't a way of calming your nerves per se, just sort of filling the void. Yeah. And so when you go into a mission like this, or Captain Phillips, or whatever it is there any kind of self-talk you do to pump yourself up?
I don't need to get pumped up for this one. I'm good.
I mean, obviously you've got on the one part of your brain, right? You've already made the calculation that this is likely a one-way mission. Do you then just sort of say, like, all right, I factor that in, put it aside, now let's focus? Or...
That made it more interesting because we're going to die anyway, so I might as well make it a point to remember everything. I might as well take mental snapshots. I can see what the helo looks like. I can see what Cairo, the dog laying next to me, looks like. I know what my boss in front of me looks like, and then the guy sleeping over here. I was just taking it in because this is it. And that's, I mean, as morbid as it sounds, that's almost a feeling of relief. Like, this is it. And this is kind of cool. I even told my father before I called him right before the mission, he didn't know where I was going. I said, I'm good. I'm with the best people in the world. And he didn't know where I was going. He didn't know what the hell was going on.
Do you think he knew from the tone of the message that...
No, he knew it was something, but we weren't supposed to be at war right then. We just got done with war.
Right.
But my father's also one of those fathers that assumes everything that happens, I'm involved with it.
Yeah. Well, parents have a ways, of there's some intuition, right?
Oh,
when you talk. As you go into the compound, one of the other helicopters crashed during the mission.
It crash landed,
but the SEALs just, jumped out and continued on the operation without skipping a beat. And that's the part that got me thinking, how do you train for the unexpected? Because it's not like you can run through every possible scenario. I mean, you built that compound and you're rehearsing, I assume, the same series of moves over and over again, and here it is, like, oh, we didn't do the helicopter, sort of crash lands and people get out. Now we have to approach it from a different angle. So is that something you train for, or is it like how do you prepare for that?
It's the preparation of effective communication, how to read off each other.
Okay.
And it's as simple as, if you go this way, I'm going to go that way. It's just that. And I mean, we talked about that for 30 seconds in the 3 weeks we trained. And all it was the boss said, what's the worst thing that could happen? And the youngest guy in the room said, the helicopter could crash in the front yard. And we're kind of like, why would you bring that up? Why would you jinx us?
Really? Someone said that?
30 seconds. We talked about it. That's the worst. I mean, it's not going to happen. So why? But it's pretty obvious. Either we all die or some of us do and don't. And, we'll come back and get the survivors after we complete the mission. The first key to medicine in a gunfight is win the fight.
But when you're doing this, I guess, is there sort of like a lot of contingency planning? Like, okay, if scenario one doesn't happen, here's like that's the worst case. But do you even go through, here's 4 or 5 different scenarios, let's play it out, and what do we do? And
yeah, but it's not that hard. It's like, okay, if a vehicle leaves, this one's going to follow it. If 2 vehicles leaves, whoever follows that one will follow this one. It's not. It's not complex. It's just what could happen, and you just kind of. Like I said, we don't even need to rehearse it on foot. We can stand over a model and talk about it. And plus, the guys that are there, we've been to war so many times. We're gonna figure it out. The biggest problem you get when you get to a target is that nothing has gone wrong yet. It's going to go wrong, but your preparation to get there is what gets you there. Don't overthink anything. Master the basics. The basics will take you through there. Know how to communicate with each other, and slow down and shut up. If you want to get chaos, if you watch a movie where people are always yelling, go, 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 okay, we weren't going to go. Shut up. Why aren't you yelling? Here we are. Calm down. If you freak out, everyone else will freak out. If you portray calm, doesn't matter what you feel, people are going to be calm because you're calm.
Right. Well, here comes that training once again.
Well, it also helped that I didn't know they crashed. I had no idea.
But just approaching a big battle with that calmness, that sort of steady hand, steady mind. So take me through the vantage point of you. Were you on the ground coming in? Were you on the roof? How did you approach it? Maybe walk me through what's happening.
My team was going to go to the roof of the main building where bin Laden lived after we dropped off some snipers, a dog, an interpreter, and a machine gun. Mm-hmm. But, we went down and dropped them off, and my helicopter pilot was taking us to the roof when he saw the other helicopter go down. I'm assuming they were talking, but we didn't know what happened, but the pilot just put it down. So we went down, went up, went right back down, and just again, he didn't even tell us. We just knew he's telling us to get out here. So we're getting out. So we got out, and I remember looking at bin Laden's house, and I thought, well, I guess we start the war from here. And I knew from training, as I'm looking at bin Laden's house, there's a double door right there on the external. It's northeast corner. We're going to blow that. So I went up and I called a breacher, who's a methods of entry guy. He put a 7-foot charge of C6, which is huge, on the door. He blasted it, and it opened like a tin can. There's a brick wall behind it. It's a door built on a wall. And he said, fail breach, this is bad. And I said, no, this is good. That's a fake door. Nobody does that. He's in there. So then I said, we're going to go to the carport, which is off to our right, which is we knew opens. It's a double door again, but we know there's a driveway behind it because we've seen it open before. And I said, hey, we're going to blast the carport. And someone said, no, don't blast it. We're going to open it. And I didn't know they crashed. I didn't know they were in there, but the door opened and a thumb came out with a glove that I recognized. And here's a point in life where it doesn't matter why you're here. You're just here. Get over it. I didn't know why they were there, but they're there. When I talk to football teams, I tell them, guys, it doesn't matter why it's 2nd and 15. It just is. The clock's running. What do we do now? Stop yelling at each other. So we're just there. And I had no idea. I actually walked past the 2 pilots and the aircrew guy. So they'd already crash landed. They're standing on this door right as we open the door. They're different uniforms than ours. They had American flags. Here's how focused I was on the thing. I look at these and I said out loud, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Didn't register that they crashed. And so, but I know we got to get in this house. So we just went in the house. There's already a gunfight going on. They already killed a few terrorists. Then we get inside and
was there gunfire back your way, or was it all one way?
It was ahead of me. They killed the 2 terrorists in the house I was going into, and they shot one of the terrorists in the guest house.
So are you just like going room to room and?
Oh yeah. And then we know how to do this. Get us inside. We never want to know what you think it looks like inside. We'll just figure it out when we get there. We don't want to have an intel analyst say, well, there's 5 guys, there's 10 women and 16 children. Say, no, just tell me how many people you see. I'll figure out what they are when I get there. Yeah. Don't get. I want to deal with certainties. And if you don't know it, say you don't know it.
So as you're making your way through, during one part of the sequence, you saw some little girl crying in one of the rooms, and this is amazing to me. I mean, in the heat of the battle, everything at stake, your life on the line, you take the time to grab this girl and find one of the mothers that could watch over her, and then you turn around and continue on your way. And maybe this is common Navy SEAL protocol, but I found this one act to be such an incredible act of humanity.
Well, that's what the good guys do. And it's not just common for Navy SEALs. It's common for soldiers and Marines. It's common for airmen. We want to make sure that the non-combatants are the least amount of scared as they can be, and that's just what good guys do. The Russians don't do that. Al Qaeda wouldn't do that. We do that, and we're the good guys. And it's common to put yourself in harm's way so someone innocent doesn't get hurt. And that's just, I mean, it wasn't like we took a picture of it and thought, look how cool you are. It's like, this is what we do, and we're just waiting to go up the stairs, and we're going to find the bad guys.
And when you found the bad guy, do you just see him and you take a shot?
Yeah, I mean, it was the last set of stairs. So we ran into his son on the stairs going up to the second floor, and the CIA agent, the woman who's real, by the way, found bin Laden, said, you will run into Khalid, and he'll be on the stairs, and he was, and we took care of him, and we split up. We ended up being down to two guys going up the last set of stairs. It was a guy in front of me and then me, and we went up the stairs. And I remember it wasn't bravery on my part. It was okay, bin Laden's going to be in here, and this is where we die. This is where he blows up, and I'm tired of thinking about it. Let's get it over with. And the guy in front of me went up the stairs, and he went through a curtain. He ran into some people that he thought were suicide bombers. He tackled them, like, to take the blast for the guy behind him. Like, he gave his life for the guy. He didn't know it was me. He knew it was a guy that was on the team. And because he went here, I went there, and there's bin Laden standing there. His hands on his wife Amal's shoulders, and he's sort of maneuvering her toward me, and we're 3 feet apart. And it just, in the blink of an eye, I was like, that's him. It's tall. He's taller than I thought, way skinnier. His beard's gray. That's his nose. He's not surrendering. He's a threat. He's a suicide bomber. I have treated him as a suicide bomber. I shot him in the face 3 times.
Okay, because I didn't know if the plan was to take him out or capture him, or.
I mean, it is what it is. If he was standing there with no clothes on and his hands up, he probably would have gotten captured. He's maneuvering to get killed. It's within my rules of engagement. He's a suicide bomber, and suicide bombers happen very fast. And it's not like a video game. It's fast, loud, scary, and permanent. And I didn't want to have that happen, so I shot him. And then I moved his wife out of the way, and his son. And then there's a human element to combat. His 2-year-old son is standing there. And now I'm a father. We talked about that. And his 2-year-old son standing there. And I thought, as a father, this poor kid has nothing to do with this. And I picked him up and I moved him. And it's like this. And it's a whole, what are we all doing this for type shit? And then it hits me. And other Navy SEALs they're coming in the room. Now I know we got to take his pictures. But I'm sort of standing there, and a buddy comes up to me. And, sometimes dark moments bring out humor. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, what do we do now?" And he smiled and he said, "Now we find the computers. We do this every night, hundreds of times. We've done this." And I said, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm back. Holy shit." And he said, "Yeah, you just killed Osama bin Laden. Your life just changed. Now get to work."
So once you get the computers, you get out of there, you get back to safety, just sort of looking back at the moment, it must have been pretty surreal. Like, you had just killed certainly the most hated man in America, if not the entire westernized world. I mean, right? You took out the biggest terrorist.
Probably the most famous man, yeah.
I mean, you almost like you'd trained your entire life for this one defining moment, yeah?
Well, I mean, it was never going to be anyone. It was never going to be me. It was never going to be SEAL Team 6. It was going to be Delta Force. It's an Army mission. But it was us. It's just right place, right time. If you make yourself available, some stuff can happen. I got to look up who said this, but one of my favorite quotes is, "Wherever you are, be there, be in the moment." But we got back, and it was, I was just proud of the team. I was proud of the way everyone responded. I was really proud of the pilots. They don't get enough credit. Pilots save lives every single day, and people don't even realize it. Like, when you think about a pilot flying you around, like on American Airlines, and he gets calm over the radio at 38,000 feet when bumping, is because he knows you panicking is not going to help, so he's going to make you calm. And pilots do that shit all the time. They're awesome. The air crew that opened the door for us, to make sure that the helos could fly, and the intel, the Admiral Bill McRaven, who talked President Obama, who made the call into the mission. The intel analysts that found him. I was proud of everyone. Like, I was one part of this big machine, and I always tell people I was smart enough to carry a sledgehammer and a gun. Think about all these smart people that got us here. Yeah. It was just a very surreal moment. We were still in our gear, putting the stuff back. Bin Laden's body's right there, and the 3-letter agencies are analyzing him, getting the DNA. And President Obama came out down the red carpet with a red tie, and he said, "Tonight I can report to the American people and to the world, the United States conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al Qaeda." And I hear President Obama say Osama bin Laden. I look at Osama bin Laden. Like, how did I get here from Butte, Montana? Like, it was just, right place, right time, great team. Just very fortunate, I guess.
Yeah. Well, not too long after that, you did end up leaving the military. You said something to the effect of, you no longer got the adrenaline in a gunfight. You just sort of grew, complacent. Was it just about being a SEAL became anticlimactic after something like that, or was there something else behind it?
Well, we were going to be the best friends in the world, especially that team forever. Mm-hmm. And we were on the highest of highs planning that mission. And then on August 6th, the same year, 2011, Extortion 17 was shot down in Tangi Valley in Afghanistan. We lost so many friends, 31 Americans to include Bart, the dog, and just the realization of humanity. And I do want to see my kids get married. And I am getting complacent. And I mean, that's one shot from an RPG that got lucky. And there's so many kids right now without fathers because of that shot. And it's time to go. We went from planning missions to planning funerals. And so I gave my notice, and I actually extended a few months to go back to Afghanistan because we lost so much combat experience, so many great men on that flight that we needed to backfill them. So I did one more deployment with the same gun, actually. And then it was time. I just knew I was never going to be in the Navy forever. And I did that last deployment because with the attitude, I came in through the front door, I'm leaving through the front door.
So I got to ask this question. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
It's not at all. There's nothing I've never heard.
But as I understand it, by coming out, if you will, as the person that took out bin Laden, there was some pretty big code of secrecy.
No code.
There's no code.
Complete bullshit. Go to the military section of Barnes & Noble and tell me how many military books and Navy SEAL books you see in there. It's all bullshit. It was written by a bunch of guys, a bunch of senior SEALs that missed the war, so they decided to come up with this ethos that is complete, total nonsense. The first time we read ethos, it's this big, noble Superman, I am that man shit. I read it with one of my friends who was on some major missions in SEAL Team 6, and his response, what is this nonsense? It's not real. I mean, I think that this country especially needs to know its history. And people that have done things, especially in the military, if you can present a manuscript or your journals through the Department of Defense, through the chain of command, and it gets approved, so there's no tactics, then jealousy can kiss my ass because I did it the right way. The Pentagon approved it, the agencies approved it, SEAL Team 6 approved it. It's all good.
But there was jealousy, right?
I get it from being a tier 1 guy at a high level, an alpha, if you will. Watching someone else do something that you were perfectly capable of doing and that close, I would have been jealous too. We had finished the bin Laden raid. I was in Afghanistan again, watching an intelligence feed of my friends from a different squadron jumping into Yemen, not Yemen, but into Somalia to rescue Jessica Buchanan and another aid worker. And they got in a huge gunfight. We watched them do it. I was jealous. I'm like, why am I not on that one? This is bullshit. But then I was like, wait a minute, we've done a couple things. But I get it. Guys were jealous of my friend who was the sniper on the Captain Phillips raid.
Okay, so there's no ethos, there's no code, all that's, BS. But all that said, like you've said yourself, you were in the right place at the right time. Could have been someone in front of you, behind you, and this was a big team effort, the intel behind it, everything. So given all the people, everything involved, why did you decide? What was the motivation to come out and take credit?
When it first happened, my name came out immediately. The first thing, as soon as bin Laden was killed, the first thing every Navy SEAL asked the Navy SEAL was, who did it?
Okay.
And that's actually kind of a funny story because I've been known as I like to tell stories and tell jokes. And I guess they would say, who did it? And they'd say, O'Neill. And a common response is, oh, great, we're never going to hear the end of this shit. By the time we flew back from Bagram, Afghanistan to Virginia Beach, by the time we landed, there were 2 busloads of Navy SEALs with beer and booze and pizza to meet us. Like they knew, which means they knew in Virginia. So they also knew in Coronado, they knew in DC, and they knew in New York.
Right. So
my name came out, and that's what made it awkward initially because, I mean, don't get me wrong. We have guys that are true professionals, true silent professionals, and I'm giving them a ration of shit right now, but there are guys that believe in that stuff. I'm just saying I never signed an ethos.
Once you lost that anonymity, weren't you nervous that you'd have this huge target on your back?
Well, yeah. But I mean, I lost it at first when I was still in the Navy, and there's no talking them out of it. And then I got out, still not talking about it. The first time I told the story was when I donated my shirt to the 9/11 Memorial Museum in New York, because I had a Congresswoman, Carolyn Maloney, say that you should have something there because it's chronological and there should be some closure at the end. So I donated my shirt anonymously and the flag that I wore anonymously. When I did it, as most politicians do, she had a room full of people who wanted to hear the story. And they were all people that lost loved ones in 9/11. So I told them the story, and I saw their response, and they said there never will be closure to the worst day of my life, but this helps with the healing because there's a name and a face with it. And I kind of decided then, well, you know what, if I can help them, I can help more people.
So how many years has it been since you left the military?
2012.
You've had a decade, right, in post-Navy SEAL life. And so, I was thinking about the fact that you didn't get the adrenaline anymore, right, so to speak. You left the military. So, how does one find joy in life when you're removed from the adrenaline you get, like Captain Phillips and bin Laden and everything you do? And I know we barely scraped the surface, but going from that life to quote unquote, my life, regular life, was that a tough adjustment?
It is. It's a very hard adjustment because I don't need the adrenaline anymore for a while. I didn't need it. Not sure what I want to do, not sure what I was qualified for. Didn't realize I had a lot of the skills that employers want and things like that. But the further I get away from it, the more I appreciate, fishing on a river. What I like to do is go scuba diving with sharks. And I'm not talking like nurse sharks. I'm talking apex predators like great whites and tiger sharks and stuff like that. And that's just cool. Even a Tiger Woods, again, I'm not comparing myself to Tiger Woods, but he got into scuba diving when he was the most popular man in the world, couldn't go anywhere because he's mobbed. Mm-hmm. He said, I love scuba diving because when I get to the ocean floor, the fish don't care who I am. And it's just kind of neat being down there. Just that's very peaceful. I like to golf, even though I'm horrible. Just to be, my psychiatrist told me to take up golf to relieve stress. Just make sure you don't try to keep score. The point is get outside. So I like to do stuff like that. But like a skydiving, I would do it again. I don't have the urge, and I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I don't like to go shooting. I've done it. I have guns. I don't need the adrenaline. It's a hard transition. But once you get out and realize how, because you got to figure with the military, if people join at 18, they can retire at 38. And life is not over at 38, even though you think you can retire and you got 2 more careers coming.
If you don't mind my asking, since you brought up psychiatrist, have you been seeing someone since you left? Was that someone that helped you sort of transition?
Yeah. And that's something important that people should realize too, is I mentioned earlier, the worst thing to say is this is the way we've always done it. That's a problem with the VA because they refuse to look into different types of treatment for PTSD, especially with combat troops. And again, you don't need to have been in combat to have some sort of PTSD because we've all had our own journeys. We've all had stress. But the VA's answer is to give you pills and then you go home and drink whiskey all night. And that's horrible. And the suicide rate is really high. What I've gotten into is there are different types of psychedelic treatment you can get from a doctor in a controlled environment. And I'm talking anything. There's THC, there's probably LSD, there's DMT, stuff like that to get you in a different place. But the VA saying this is the way we've always done it, they'll say, well, that's illegal. It's like, well, make it legal. You're the government. And this is safe. And it's safer than vodka. It's safer than the booze. A lot of these veterans will go home and lock themselves in a room and drink until they can't stand up. And that's not healthy. So yeah, I get treatment and it's awesome. I didn't realize how boxed in I was until I started getting into stuff like this and other veterans do it. And I hear stories of not just SEALs, but Rangers and soldiers and infantry and Marines that go to Mexico to get a certain type of ancient psychedelic training. And it's almost a purge and it's awesome. And it's like the thing with tactics, think outside the box. What should we be doing? That's what we should be doing. And I recommend to everyone, even if you don't think you have a problem, give someone a call and talk about it. You're going to feel better. And not necessarily a psychiatrist, but some of that treatment, man, it's legit. And I have yet to meet one veteran that hasn't said this is the best thing I've ever done. And it's not, one doesn't fit all, but man, if the VA had something where Vietnam vets are still suffering because no one ever let them admit they had a problem.
I appreciate your sharing all that.
Oh yeah. That's big. I think it's important enough to share. And I don't care. I think it's great and it helps me. So I'm fine.
Yeah. So your wife calls you the luckiest unlucky person in the world. What does she mean by that?
She means that I could step in a pile of shit, but find a diamond. Something bad will happen. I will learn from it and something good will happen. Again, it's putting yourself out there. And I screw up all the time. I give myself my own advice all the time. And I'm going to screw up after this conversation at some point. And it's just I'll screw up and learn from it and hopefully get something good out of it. The problem's right in front of you. Just admit what it is. Don't pretend it's something else and try to fix that. Here's the problem. And if you hurt someone, apologize to them. And then they can forgive you or you can get over it and learn from it and move on. That's just how life works. What we all have in common is everyone, doesn't matter. It's a large planet, but it's a small world. What we all have in common, regardless of your beliefs, is the clock does not stop ticking. And, that's why we called the book, The Way Forward. You need to find the way forward.
Rob, the name of this podcast is The Art of Excellence. I end the show every time with this question, which is, what is your definition of that word excellence? What does it mean to you?
I think excellence is someone, man or woman, who can take care of their family, take care of your own, and teach your children to be good people, and hopefully they can repeat the process.
I like that. Rob, I loved every second of this. I can't thank you enough, obviously, for your service, for everything you've done. The world is as crazy and as scary as it is right now. It's certainly way better than it was before, thanks to you and your brethren and everyone else that commits and sacrifices. So my hat's off to you. Thank you, sir.
Ron, thanks so much. I really appreciate your flexibility and patience with setting this up. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. Okay, don't go yet, please. 2 favors. I ask simply 2 favors. One, if you could please download the iTunes app. You could do it on your phone. You can do it on the computer. Take 60 seconds and leave a review. It means a lot. 2, you can find my episodes on several social media sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Find the one that you like the most. Find the one where you tend to have a lot of friends and followers. And if you could please either share it in the case of Facebook and LinkedIn, or retweet it on Twitter, that would mean the world to me. So those are the 2 asks I have. I love putting together this podcast. I hope you enjoy listening to it. Thank you so much, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.